Anyways, Logan, how's it going?
It's good, man. Good. I'm a day one listener, so I'm happy to get on the podcast and chat with you.
Day one listener, first time speaker. Nice. We appreciate everyone that listens. Try to give a platform to everyone. It's very
Yeah.
small, so do what you may. Do what you may. But yeah, we've got a pretty decent power lifter. Not elite like some,
No.
not me either. But one of the boys that
Stay in my
also,
lane. I know where I
yeah,
know where I know who I am. I know where I'm going.
yeah, not quite a coach, but you're here
No.
for to help anybody that needs it always. It's just one of the good guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually do. I work at Club 4, just a commercial gym here in Birmingham. It's not local to Birmingham, but they have a location really close to my house, which is where I train. And I actually started working there part time last November. And I've got a couple of guys that I've gotten into powerlifting, and those two are going to do the 8 meet later this year. So you will see me as a first time handler, but I do not consider myself a powerlifting coach.
Yeah, if you're handling though, then they're your athletes. That makes you a powerlifting coach.
That's fair. That's fair.
Like,
I don't want to be another coach.
why? Why
There's
not?
enough. There's enough of you good guys out there for that.
So
I have. I feel like I have other skills I can help people with, like investing.
you can do both. Why not? I mean, there's nothing but adding more and more to your plate until you feel overwhelmed, and then
Right.
just don't do anything.
Can't sleep.
Yeah, there is no sleep. None of that is allowed, actually. So yeah, let's get started on just how you found powerlifting and what got you hooked on it.
Yeah. So actually, I was around powerlifting in 2011 and 2012. When I went to Troy, I got my undergraduate degree from Troy. I trained there, and I trained at a gym in Troy, Alabama. Was more into bodybuilding at that time, but there were actually a few powerlifters that trained there. Brian Curvin, Andy Bowen used to come to that gym some. So I was exposed to it a little bit and never really worked up the courage to compete. And I think when I got out of college, I thought I wanted to join the military, and so I wasted in quotes most of my 20s training for something I never did. Was good runner, good swimmer, did calisthenics, and then when I turned 30, I had essentially aged out of most of those programs, and so I think my training needed some direction. And Shelby, my wife, actually forced me to sign up for a meet in June of 2022. She was like, either you can sign up for this or I'm going to do it for you. And so I was about 6 weeks out, and I actually hired Tyler Campbell. We did a Zoom session, and I wrote up a program that I thought would work relatively well, and he helped me make some significant adjustments.
Yeah,
And
nice.
did the first meet, had a great experience, went 9 for 9, and was hooked pretty much right away. It gave my training some focus, which I think I need. I think most people need that. And yeah, the rest is history. I think I've done 6 now in about a 2-year span, which I probably going to slow down some because I feel like progress is stagnated a little bit and probably need a little bit more of an off season.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's pretty quick.
yeah,
I I think you learn along the way too how essential the off season gets, and when you cut those short.
it's much. I feel like it's as much mental as it is physical. If you're just doing meet after meet after meet, you burn out pretty quick. And I think you can sustain this longer. Like I think it's a good thing to include in your life, and I would rather be able to do 1 or 2 of these a year for the next 20 years than try to rush everything, get everything done here right at the start when I can just kind of stretch this out and enjoy it for a really long time.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, you see it all the time as people getting burnt out after the first 4 years.
yeah, it's just not sustainable. And I think a lot of us have pretty, I don't want to say like addictive personalities, but I think a common trait I see is like when any of us get focused on something, we kind of really focus on it. And I think that encourages burnout sometimes.
Yeah, it's that all or nothing.
All or nothing.
Because
Yeah.
I'm either always doing competitions or I'm never doing them.
Exactly.
And a lot of people do run into that for sure. So we mentioned that you're the dividend deadlifter. So you have a more a passion for finance, not really a
Yeah.
career in finance yet.
Mhm.
Tell us how you balance everything you do. I imagine it's just because you don't have kids yet. So everything else is kind of easier.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a good, one of my investing philosophies is it should be pretty hands off. Like if you're having to spend hours a day watching your investments and following them and tracking them, you've probably missed the point of investing, I think. So some days, I mean, I've gone weeks before without ever looking at anything related to investing. It's not an everyday thing at all. If I'm if I'm trying to buy something or I'm watching a stock, I might check in a little more frequently, but it doesn't occupy that much time. The working out, I have the luxury of working remotely, and the commercial gym that I train at is really close by, so I'm able to get there. I'm able to train on my lunch break most every day, so I don't really lose any time. And I feel like when you work remotely, it's much easier to balance many different things because you're not wasting time commuting. And if you need to do things in the house where people in the office would just be browsing the internet, you can get up and
Yeah.
do those things. I think you get way more done when you work from home.
Yeah. So you have freedom you have freedom with work from home for your actual job.
Correct.
And then you're a pretty efficient person. So I imagine you get your workout in and done.
Yeah.
And it's at a commercial gym. So there's like less dumb meatheads to talk to and get
Right.
distracted by.
Right. To contend with.
So,
Yeah. And I
yeah.
try to do most all of the assistance work. I do a lot of rest pauses and drop sets and myo reps and things to try to speed that process along a little bit. So once I get through the main movement, I can burn through that stuff pretty quickly.
Yeah. And just for all other intended purposes, but this is not
Yeah.
actual legal financial advice. This is just a guy that talks about what he likes to do in his free time.
Exactly. Yeah, I do. I have an MBA in finance, but that doesn't really qualify you to do anything. I found out the
Right.
hard way. It's it looks great on a resume and maybe makes you a little more attractive in corporate America, but it doesn't entitle you to give any financial advice or sell financial products in any way. I do still want to transition into that industry, but I would love to do it at a point in life where there's no pressure on it from an income perspective. So
Right.
we kind of have that targeted, I would say, for probably about another 8 years in IT. So when I'm around 40, I'm 32 today. Around 40, I would love to have an encore career. so you
I
maybe
mean,
transition into something you really want to do.
yeah, that's a pretty damn good plan. Not a lot of people can say they can change careers at 40. So,
Yeah, and there's a lot of, the internet's become, there's a lot more information about financial independence, retire early. I'm sure you probably heard of that too.
yeah.
And you have people working at these big technology companies that live in a van and, save 90% of what they make and they retire when they're 32. And I don't know. I think it's good to have some purpose in life. And I don't know that your job necessarily has to be that, but if you're passionate about what you do, I feel like if you can help people, you enjoy it, and it pays a decent amount of money, that's kind of everything you could hope for in a job. So I don't really want to slave at a job until I'm 32, retire, and then sit around and play video games. Like I think humans, I think we're at our best when we have something to do. So
Yeah, you want to be productive in some fashion. And I mean, if
yeah,
you transition to a career in finance, you might have an easier way of helping someone.
absolutely. Yeah,
Right.
you can do it. I can do it professionally and have, all of the credentialing that I would need to
Right.
actually sell the product and the service.
Interesting. We do have a very turbulent time in investing right now, more than ever. The past probably, 6 years have just been very up and down. So that probably requires a lot of like mental fortitude, I would say. Maybe not focus necessarily, but like, staying with your process, keeping to your plan, as does powerlifting. So how do you think that mental toughness is a balance between both?
Yeah, so I kind of think about the investing. There's been sort of two periods that I've experienced, and there's always volatility, but I followed it pretty closely from about 2015 to through basically 2015 to before COVID. There wasn't anywhere near the dramatic ups and downs that there are now. I feel like COVID was kind of the start of that. I think there are way more just average people investing. So I think there's a lot more market participants, and that's been kind of the rise of the meme stocks, and more recently the AI craze. All these big technology companies that have gotten absolutely massive for good reason in some cases. So there's just more dramatic swings than there used to be, and that's one of those things that I think you have to experience it as an investor once you go through a period where you see red day after red day after red day, and you stick to your process, and you come out on the other side of that way ahead of where you started because you plugged in money as it was going down, and you just stuck to the process that you had. You get to the other side of it, and again, you're way ahead of where you were. And I think the same thing happens in powerlifting. And Bryant, you probably know this, you know this better than I do more recently. You had a pretty long stretch of training where you just kind of had to go in and plug in and go through the process. And now you're starting to reap the benefits of all that hard work you did when things weren't going quite so well.
Yeah, shit sucks. I guess the biggest difference there is one is like very, very active, and the other requires you to be very proactive.
Yeah.
You can't really just continue to, especially in the volatility that we have now, is like you cannot look at it all the time. And when it comes to investing, because that's when you really start sweating bullets. And when you're talking about like injury recovery in the gym, it's almost the opposite, where you have to be like very active and dot your I's, cross your T's constantly.
Yeah. So I would say it's mostly just stick to the process and just take a long-term view of both. There's going to be ups and downs. Don't get too emotionally high. I think if somebody watched me lift in the gym, they wouldn't be able to tell if I was really upset with the set or really happy with the set based on my reaction. Right. And I think if you apply that mentality to your portfolio as well, you will find a much better balance. Don't get, celebrate the wins, but you don't have to scream it from the rooftop and, or throw yourself off the rooftop when you see your portfolio.
Yeah, right.
Just ride the roller coaster. Don't jump off of it.
Ride the roller coaster, the investment roller coaster.
You only die if you jump off. So just stay on.
This is true.